For decades, some of America's most haunting crimes remained buried in aging case files, unsolved, unanswered, and slowly fading from public memory. Families waited for closure that never came. Detectives reviewed the same evidence year after year, hoping something would finally make sense. But time kept moving forward while the truth stayed hidden. Only now, with groundbreaking advances in DNA technology and forensic genealogy, history's coldest cases are finally being solved. In the early 1980s and 1990s, investigators collected what evidence they could: blood droplets, clothing fibers, hair samples, fingerprints smudged by time. These items were carefully sealed and stored, even though no one knew what future scientists might be able to do with them. What seemed like routine evidence collection back then has become the key to unlocking crimes once thought unsolvable. Each preserved sample held microscopic traces of the past, waiting for the day when technology could finally interpret them. One of the most compelling breakthroughs came from a small Midwestern town where a young woman disappeared while walking home from work more than 40 years ago. At the time, detectives had almost nothing to work with. No witnesses, no suspects, and only a partial DNA profile that was too degraded for comparison. For decades, the case haunted the community. But when forensic analysts applied modern genetic sequencing tools, everything changed. They rebuilt the DNA from tiny, deteriorated fragments and created a complete profile that hadn't been possible for decades. That profile guided genealogists toward a family line and eventually to a man who had died years earlier, someone who had lived an ordinary life while hiding a terrible secret. The truth arrived too late for prosecution, but it gave the victim's family the long-awaited answers they deserved. Another powerful moment unfolded on the West Coast, where investigators revisited a series of home invasions and assaults from the late 1970s. The original evidence had been collected before DNA testing was even a reality. For decades, these crimes remained unsolved, leaving survivors to live with fear and uncertainty. But forensic genealogy brought new hope. By comparing DNA from the crime scenes to data from public family tree databases, analysts were able to identify distant relatives and gradually narrow down the list of possible suspects. What had once been a sprawling mystery with hundreds of potential leads was ultimately traced to one individual. Even after so many years, justice finally arrived, bringing relief to victims who had waited most of their lives for the truth. One of the most emotional breakthroughs came from the southern United States, where the disappearance of a young child in the mid-1990s had left a family shattered. Investigators had collected a small piece of biological evidence during the original search, but it was considered too weak to be useful at the time. Decades later, when the sample was re-examined using next-generation DNA processing, analysts discovered a match in a recently updated national database. The match connected the case to an offender who had been arrested on unrelated charges in another state. This discovery reopened the investigation instantly and allowed detectives to reconstruct a timeline that revealed what truly happened. After more than 25 years of uncertainty, the child's family finally received the closure they had been desperate to find. These long overdue breakthroughs are not simply scientific achievements, they are deeply human victories. They represent the persistence of law enforcement officers who refuse to give up, the power of families who continue to demand answers, and the promise of technology that grows more sophisticated every year. With every new advancement, cold cases that once seemed impossible to solve are being brought back to life. Evidence once dismissed as useless is now capable of rewriting the past. Across the United States, investigators are reopening more cases as DNA technology evolves. The message is clear: time is no longer the enemy. DNA does not forget. It does not fade. And with modern tools, science can reach back decades to reveal the truth that criminals once believed they had buried forever. As each mystery is solved, families gain peace, communities heal, and justice, no matter how delayed, is finally served. History's coldest cases are being brought into the light, one microscopic clue at a time.